Well, it's the final push ahead of Election Day. President Trump making 5 stops in 4 key battleground states, including Pennsylvania. Joe Biden, his wife Jill, and Kamala Harris and her husband also spread out across the Keystone State after spending the morning in Ohio, a state where Biden's team is seeing some last-minute hope. Here in Maryland, as of roughly an hour ago, more than 86,000 people voted early today. That brings the total number of Marylanders who took advantage of early in-person voting to nearly 967,000. And if you have not voted yet, there is still time to get your ballot in before Election Day tomorrow. WJZ has live team coverage. Avajoy Burnett has more on a big local race that's on the ballot. But let's begin with Rachel Carden with the options you still have to make your voice heard. Rachel?
That's right, Denise. It might be the last day of early voting, but people are taking advantage. You can see the very long socially distanced line here at Morgan State University. And as long as you're in line by 8 p.m., you can vote today at the last day of early voting. Now, tomorrow, voting begins at 7 a.m., closes at 8 p.m. Again, you have to be in line to cast your ballot. As long as you're in line by 8 p.m., you'll be fine. Now, if you're mailing in your ballot, it has to be postmarked on or before November 3rd to be counted, but you're encouraged to put it in one of those ballot drop boxes. Early voting locations continue to see steady traffic. Election Day is just around the corner.
Come down and get that vote in. This makes a difference this year. And we need that. We need change.
Mercedes Lizardo wanted to cast her vote in person, so she and thousands of others showed up to Morgan State.
I just wanted to make sure that I was able to vote and take advantage of the early voting and not the long lines. And it's my birthday. I didn't want to spend it online.
10th Street feels voting in person is more legitimate.
I prefer to do things personally, hands-on. So, I mean, to mail it, anything can happen.
The State Board of Elections says of the 1.6 million mail-in ballots they sent out, they've gotten 1.3 million back. There are more voting options than ever before, but the legitimacy of the process is the same.
So we know there's been a lot of changes in terms of maybe where you go to vote, but the processes and the audits behind them are the same.
A record number of Americans turned out to vote early. You can even register and vote all in the same day if you haven't already.
To a vote center in the county where you live, bring proof of residency, and you'll get to register and vote.
For those mailing in ballots, you're encouraged to put it in one of the state's 280-plus drop-box locations. If mailing it, be sure it's postmarked by November 3rd, or it won't be counted. Once your ballot is sent, you can check its status online to make sure it was received, but be patient.
It's going to say received when it's been processed by the local boards.
Now, you can check at the Maryland State Board of Elections website the status of your ballot. But again, be patient. It could take several weeks to get all of those ballots processed. We're live at Morgan State University at 5 tonight. I'm Rachel Carden for WJZ.
Rachel, thank you. Well, our team coverage continues now with Avajoy Burnett, who has more on the other big race to watch here in our region. Of course, Avajoy spoke with the 3 candidates who are vying to be Baltimore's next mayor. What do they say? Avajoy.
Hi, Vic. We spoke with the independent, the Democrat, and Republican whose names are on the ballot to be Baltimore City's next mayor. And before they could get the position here at City Hall, they were trying today to convince voters that they're best suited for the job. The Republican, the independent, and the Democrat running for mayor in Baltimore used the final hours before Election Day to make a final pitch.
This is the most important election in the history of our city, state, and country.
Democrat Council President Brandon Scott touted an impending wave of new leadership in Baltimore City, while also focusing on state and national races.
You can't sit it out. You have to come vote. We know that we're going to have to be patient with the national election. We know that Vice President Biden will win, but we know that we cannot let anyone stay on the sidelines.
Scott's opponents believe he hasn't done enough in his time as a city council member.
We really just want to see something better for the city.
Republican Pastor Shannon Wright says she will be focusing on jobs, safer streets, and better schools.
It is absolutely critical that the vote that they cast needs to be for someone that they can believe will be able to get the job done, will be able to make our schools better, make our streets safe, bring jobs into the city that in an economic development way that makes sense.
The independent in the race, Bob Wallace, is also critical of Brandon Scott.
What problems has Brandon Scott solved? is what I would ask the people of Baltimore City.
As an engineer and businessman, Wallace says he'll use his background to help change Baltimore.
I believe that the issue we're facing as a city, all the issues of violence and crime and poverty, all ties to lack of economic opportunity. So my plan is heavy on economic development and job creation.
Baltimore City is a heavily Democratic city, but the independent and Republican in the race, they believe their message of economic opportunities, safer streets, and better schools will resonate with voters. Live tonight at City Hall, Avajoy Burnett for WJZ.
And remember, WJZ is your election connection. Tomorrow we will have special election night coverage with Nora O'Donnell, Gail King, and John Dickerson, as well as local updates beginning at 7 p.m.